Alrighty, so my name is Emily Trolia, and I'm a Practicum student with academic support programs. Today's workshop is going to be on note taking and concept mapping. I'm going to discuss some information on note taking and why it's so important to take meaningful notes in class. And then after that, we're going to look at concept maps and how you can use them to study. Um, so be sure to check out our full length note taking video on March 16th, and then our full length concept mapping video the week after on March 23rd. So we're going to cover some good information today, but then in those videos, we're going to be able to go into a little bit further detail on each topic. Okay, so like all study skills, note taking is going to depend on your personal preference. Some people like to use their computer while others always take handwritten notes. Some people outline in class as they go, while others just kind of write down everything that they possibly can and then clean things up after class. So why do we need to improve our note-taking skills? So actively taking notes in each class is going to ensure that you're paying attention to what the professor is saying, and it's a good way to hold yourself accountable. Having material from each class period is going to allow you to review the information immediately after class and in your study time leading up to the exam so that you can spend less time, trying to frantically create study guides. Does anybody else have any other ideas as to why you should try to take good notes every time?
I'm sorry, you cut out. What had you said?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, you cut out. I didn't know if you had asked a question.
I cannot. Okay, I cannot hear you very well. So similar to test prep, note taking can be broken down into before, during, and after class. Um, so I included this picture of the study cycle because it kind of highlights here preview. Here you should be taking notes, reviewing the material before class, going to class, taking notes, and then reviewing and revising your notes as needed prior to your study time and prior to the exam. Okay, so before class, you should be going to each class prepared for what you're going to learn that day. If you've done the readings and know what's going to be discussed, you'll be more prepared for what the instructor is going to be discussing, and you'll be able to take more detailed notes and even focus better on the key concepts. Additionally, if you're going to class with questions already prepared, you're going to be able to ask them in class rather than, looking at your notes after the fact and thinking, okay, now what exactly did they mean by that? Or if there's a tough concept, it's going to be easier for you to already have that question going into class rather than having to find time to ask the professor after the fact or figure it out yourself. Okay. So then during class, you should be using this class time to write down as much information as you can. Okay, so if your notes start to look jumbled or disorganized, don't worry about making them pretty in class because you can always go back and clean them up after the fact. So you should be listening and looking for clues from the instructor. If they slow down, repeat a statement, or emphasize something in any way, make sure that you take notes about it and indicate in your notes that it was an important concept. Because odds are, if they took the class time to signal about that information, then it's going to be included probably in a homework, quiz, or an exam. And then also, if you have any questions as you're taking notes, speak up and ask them in class. Professors always say, you're probably not the only one with that question, and they're not wrong. So it would benefit yourself and other classmates if you go ahead and ask that then. Let's see where we are. And then if you don't want to ask the question in class, you could wait until class is dismissed and ask them after the fact. You could email your professor, or you could just wait until the next class period. But asking those questions is going to help the professor know that you were engaged. and they may take that into consideration, when considering final grades. Um, if your professor will allow you to, consider recording lectures. This might help alleviate the feeling that you need to frantically write down everything during class. And then you can use these recordings to fill in any missing information after class. So then later that same day or that evening, you should review the notes that you took in class that day. So seeing the information again shortly after you went over it is going to help you retain the information better. If there are any concepts or ideas that you have questions about, take this time to ask a classmate to clarify the information, email the instructor or the TA, or make note of it to ask during your next class period. You should also be using your class notes to create study guides. You can create questions based off of the topics that were discussed in class so you can quiz yourself when you're studying. Okay, and then I have a brief video that kind of ties together the information that I just covered. And then it also goes over a couple of note-taking techniques.
Note-taking is an extremely valuable skill that you'll use even after you finish university. As with every life skill, practice, practice, practice is a must. Do you know that the average rate of speaking during lectures is 100 to 125 words per minute, whereas the average rate of writing is 30 words per minute? Note-taking skills are therefore very important, since we can't possibly write down everything our professors say, and we are not meant to. Note-taking is about processing information to better focus on understanding the lecture. Robin knows this well. Let's look at her tips and tricks to comprehensive note-taking. Robin divides her note-taking into 3 general steps: before, during, and after class. 1. Before class. Robin takes time to go over the syllabus and skim read the assigned readings. She reviews the PowerPoints for the next class and her notes for the previous lecture. Then, Robin highlights or underlines vocabulary or concepts she doesn't understand so she knows what answers to look for during class. When Robin sees consistent words throughout her readings and PowerPoints, she creates abbreviations or symbols that she can use consistently when taking notes. 2. During class. Robin is always sure to enter her class with the intention to listen and learn. She often pretends that later she will teach this material to a friend. Robin tries to eliminate distractors by sitting at the front of the class or away from windows. Robin is always sure to record the date and course at the top of her page. Note: to take concise and thorough notes, you should spend most of the lecture listening and trying to understand the material. Focus on writing down the main ideas and summarizing important facts in your own words. And do not write in full sentences or worry about spelling. By using symbols and abbreviations you've created, you can make the most complete notes in the least amount of time. In order to interact with the information in the lecture, Robin uses the 2-column strategy. First, she draws a line down the center of her paper to create 2 columns. Then, while the professor is talking, Robin determines the main ideas and asks herself if she is understanding what the professor is saying. If she does, she notes the main ideas in the left column. If she doesn't, she notes them in the right column. If the course is recorded, Robin writes down the exact time something she doesn't understand comes up. That way she can go over tough concepts. Once the class is over, this document will become a working document, allowing Robin to understand what topics are least clear to her. This strategy is also computer-friendly, as most note-taking software allows you to create 2 columns, but be sure to block any applications that might distract you. Other strategies Robin uses includes identifying keywords by her professor, such as conclusions, reasons, challenges, or features, to help her identify when a main idea in the lecture is present. Robin uses highlighters to indicate important words or themes, or to categorize her notes. Last, if she uses a new abbreviation or symbol to represent a word that she hasn't used before, Robin is sure to note it down at the top of the page so she can remember what it stands for. By using these strategies and by trying her best to ask her professor and TAs any questions she has, Robin is able to identify difficult concepts in a proactive way. 3. After class. Robin tries to read over her 2-column notes directly after class. She reviews the left column, making sure she properly understands the concepts there. Then, she reviews the right column and tries to find leads in her textbook or by asking her peers or teachers. As Robin works her way through the right column, she begins to transfer concepts to the left column as she understands them. Robin then reviews her notes weekly, cross-checking them with her textbook notes. To commit things to memory, she tries to relate them to everyday life. Let's review. Number 1. Try to enter the classroom as prepared as possible. This means skimming readings and syllabi and noting any concepts you don't understand. Number 2. When you're in class, be an active listener. Eliminate distractors and use shorthand symbols to take quick notes. Mark down main ideas and highlight or underline the ones you don't understand. Be sure to ask questions to clarify difficult concepts. Number 3, review your notes and refer to your textbook or classmates to make sure you have a comprehensive understanding of the material. Try to be proactive by synthesizing information well before any tests or quizzes. Once you start using these tips and tricks, there's no doubt you'll join the ranks of Robin and her supreme note-taking skills. All you need is your favorite note-taking materials and a passion to learn.
Okay, so the video highlighted the 2-column method, and then I'm going to touch on 2 more note-taking methods before we move on to concept mapping. Like I said earlier, there's going to be some methods that don't really work well for you or for the subject that you're learning. So you may need to try different styles of note-taking before you find one that works best for you and for the content area that you're studying. But overall, the methods of note-taking are going to help you identify the main concept of what is being taught, and then you're going to be able to pinpoint the supporting ideas and the key points that are related to each of the subtopics. Okay, so first is the Cornell method. The Cornell method is a very organized way of taking notes and makes it easy to review the topic after the fact. So this note section over here, this is what you're going to fill in during class. Uh, just cover any information that the professor talks about. It can be as organized or as disorganized as you want because you're going to be able to revise this stuff after class. So this Q section over here should be done after class. You should be using this section to make notes of any key dates, the topics, and any points that were highlighted or emphasized by the instructor. And then you can also use this section to write down any lingering questions that you still have. So you should be doing this section immediately after class while everything is still fresh in your head. And then later on, when you're reviewing your notes, you can do this summary section down here. So just kind of write it in your own words. Write what was covered that day, write what you know, basically. So writing this information in your own words is going to help you determine if you actually know what was covered, or maybe if you need to go over that information again before the exam. And then the outlining method is a very organized way of taking notes, especially when the topic at hand includes a lot of detail. You can easily pull out study questions from the outlining method of taking notes. One downside, though, is that outlining is very difficult to keep organized, especially in class. So this might be something where you kind of get a rough framework maybe in class, and then after class you go back and outline those notes when you're trying to create those study questions. Okay, so now that I've talked a little bit about the importance of taking notes and a couple of different ways you could try to take notes, here's some other tips that you should keep in mind. So sometimes the professor posts a PowerPoint ahead of time. If they do this, you should consider printing it out and bringing it to class if you have access to a printer. Taking notes on the handout can be really beneficial because instead of trying to frantically write down everything that was on the PowerPoint, you already know what's on the PowerPoint, so you can take notes by, highlighting key points that they say, or just making special note of examples or anything that they emphasize. So you should review and rewrite your notes. After class, go over your notes. Odds are they might be a little bit sloppy, so take this time to review and rewrite this information. And it's a great way to help retain the information that was covered. And then try and take your notes conversationally. So, write them as if you were talking about this topic to a friend, instead of being so, I guess, academically written. Writing them conversationally may help you understand them a little bit better. And then using colors and sticky notes can be a great way to help you differentiate the main idea from supporting ideas. And then you can flag key points or definitions or examples that were covered in class with sticky notes. And then finally, try and take notes in your book so that when you go to do your homework or go back to study, you'll have already made note of the key points that were covered. And then you could also compare them to what notes were given in class. So if something was covered both in the book and in class, then it's highly likely that that's going to be an important topic that you should really be paying attention to when you study. Okay, so let's start out with a little video on concept mapping real quick.
How to create a concept map. What is a concept map? A concept map is a visual way to organize thoughts and make connections between ideas. How can I use a concept map? You can use a concept map to brainstorm and organize ideas, create an outline for an assignment, or test your knowledge in review for exams. How do I make a concept map? By following these 7 steps. Step 1. Start by identifying the main topic and brainstorm everything you know about it. Use all relevant content from lectures, texts, and other course material. Step 2. Organize your information into main points. Step 3. Start creating your map. Begin with your main topic, then branch out to major points and supporting details. Step 4. Review your map and look for more connections. Use arrows, symbols, and colors to show relationships between ideas. Step 5. Include details. Definitions, equations, and diagrams are all useful. Step 6. Analyze and improve your map. Ask yourself, how do these ideas fit together? Have you made all necessary connections? Is the map accurate, logical, and detailed? Step 7. As you learn more, update your concept map to reflect your better understanding. Try talking out loud about your concept map. Ask yourself, can I describe the connections between these ideas? Following these 7 simple steps will allow you to create a concept map to help you study. For more information, get in touch.
Okay, so concept mapping is a great way for visual learners to take notes and can be used as a great study tool to kind of help you make connections between the ideas that were covered. They work best for lecture-based courses, just because it's, like for a math class, it's kind of hard to, I guess, make a concept map out of the examples that were given. But they can be used to study anything from biology to history. You can include pictures or include hierarchies of information. But I do want to note that this isn't the only way that a concept map has to look. Like I said, you could use it to show the hierarchy of something. You can make one that looks like a Venn diagram. Basically, whatever works best for you. This example is from the EDHE 101 textbook. So it's just kind of a general framework of how you might create a concept map. Okay, and so here's an example for Ole Miss. So the more connections you make throughout the map, the better understanding you're going to have of the map as a whole. So the center point of the map here is the main idea of the topic. So ours is going to be the University of Mississippi. And then going off of that main idea, we have 4 supporting subtopics. So one here is going to be Oxford because we're located in Oxford, Mississippi. Another one is athletics because athletics is a big part of the university here. And then academics, obviously, because we're a 4-year research institution. And then student life over here because that's also something that we're well known for. And then off of each of these subtopics, I went ahead and did 3 more subtopics. So you could do as many or as few as you need to for each of the subtopics. But then you'll see these other dotted connections. Those indicate ways that the subtopics are connected to either the subtopics or the other subtopics. So like here, the square is connected to game day activities because the square is going to be very, very busy on game days. But also here, Jackson Avenue is connected to restaurants within the same subtopic. And then the Grove over here is connected to student life, but it's also connected to game day activities because we've all seen how full the Grove gets on football games. So once you have all of your supporting ideas and everything filled in, just go through your concept map and see how you can connect them to each other. Try and make as many connections as you possibly can. Like I said, the more connections that are made, probably the better understanding that you have of the idea or of the topic as a whole. And then when applicable, include as many pictures as you can, draw diagrams that you may need to draw on the exam. Just kind of use this as a way to put down as much information that you know about a topic as possible. And even you can make them online like this. I just Googled a concept map website and this came up and I made it for free and could save it to my computer. Or you could use a piece of your notebook paper, poster board, or you can even go and get, huge rolls of paper from the Dollar Tree or something and just concept map away when it's time to study for finals. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording here. But just I want to point out we do post our previously recorded workshops on the website. So we've got some older workshops on our website if you want to check those out. And then we're going to continue offering more throughout the semester. But if you are interested in any of the services that Academic Support Programs has to offer, you can check out our website or always drop by. We're in Johnson Commons East, between Weir Hall and Rebel Market. So let me stop the recording.